we certainly owe a real round of applause to the committee that put together, to Paul being the leader, to Kevin, to Terry, to Joe. We wouldn't have what we have tonight without these gentlemen, and it was so wonderful to have Paul address us all as gentlemen in his email. But they dug in and did it. The reunion time, to me, this reunion, not reunions generically, this reunion was a time not just a kind of, I recognize you, I see you, oh yeah, I remember you. This gathering last night and tonight has been much more than that. It's been much more than kind of just recognizing, recalling, backslapping. Those were the days. It's been much more than that. I have been 100% overwhelmed by what all of you men did to make this the moment that it is. And it is a moment. It's a moment in history. It's a, as I say in the booklet, it's a perfect time. Everything seemed to have come together and spearheaded by the overwhelming impact of the bios that each and every one of you composed, put together, submitted, dared to be unpretentious, dared to share, and put yourselves on the line to give to each other. So that when we sit here, we're not Harvard MBAs. We didn't go to the business school. But we're here for a very, very unique reason. We have touched each other. We have had an impact on each other. And your wives and your partners and your girlfriends and your mates and whatever can taste that, can see that, can feel that. I felt it last night. I felt it coming in here tonight. It's embarrassing. I've even cried a few times because it's electric and it's unique. And it's not a question of coming back to Xavier, coming back to Concord. It's, yes, geographically and physically we're here. But as I mentioned in a quote from the poet T.S. Eliot, we have come back and recognized the place for the first time. We have got something more than what we had when we were young, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys. We have had our own unique, wonderful, terrifying, sad, beautiful, good lives evolve since that time, and we are who we are from the roots to now. That's what we brought back, and we're recognizing for the first time the same place, the same geography, the same physical location, but we are recognizing this is unbelievable. Somebody even called it close to a miracle. Some one of you in the class did. That we would come together, that there would be the sharing. And I've heard people say, you know, I talked to somebody last night, I didn't even talk to him in high school. And he's a great guy. It's fabulous. I feel good about myself. Or I didn't realize there's so much talent. I was behind the scenes prompting some of you, booting you in the ass to get your bios done. And a lot of you wrote back to me saying, lay off. One guy even wrote back saying, lay off, I don't intend to write my obituary. Someone else wrote back and saying, I'm not a bio guy. I'll be there, but I don't do bios. But basically, or someone else said, my life is vanilla. There's nothing to it. And I see the first guys that get their biographies in, and good God, who wants to try to compete with that? I wouldn't want to compete with all the guys that were flying all those airplanes. I mean, you'll be listening to one of the pilots soon, but it's amazing the number of pilots and the travel. But in any event, some of you took the jump, took the leap, and shared. And that's what made the recognizing. It was the gift that you all gave to each other. It was a time, the union was a time for revelation. If there's one description of the bios that hit me, was it the candidness. People delved deep into themselves and presented who they were with the warts, the freckles, the drawbacks, the upsets, the sufferings, the divorces, the agonies, the deaths, the loss of children, but shared that. That isn't done. And if I can be chauvinistic about it, men don't do that. Men aren't open, the old books used to say. But you men were open, and you did share. Now I love reading how great I was. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and it's nice to get to my late 50s and realize that somebody likes me, in addition to my charming wife. But it's the revealing, the candidness, the sharing that, to me, made such a great deal of difference. But the reunion, to me, from my perspective, and the purpose of my winding down now, is to acknowledge each and every one of you. If you look in the booklet I put together sometime and see the paragraph that treats what a composite image is of everybody in this room, it swings the entire spectrum of human possibility, of human activity, of what human service. Being of service, whether it be food service, beverage service, humanitarian efforts, teaching, special education directors, attorneys getting into issues and in current educational issues on university campuses. The spectrum is just fantastic, swinging all sizes and shapes. We even have one instance, good old Danny McIsaac, of an iron worker putting these sky beams in some of the buildings in Boston and crowning them and finishing them with his children's name.
Wow.
That's, I point that out as an instance of, and not just to embarrass Danny, but as an instance of every type of work in those bios is service-oriented. Every type of enterprise, every type of initiative, every failure, and every success is always focused on, from my perspective, others. That is what you should acknowledge. You should acknowledge your greatness. You should acknowledge your goodness. You should acknowledge the grace and blessings you received. You should acknowledge your families, your wives, your children, and acknowledge that you are important. You were taught that in your early days. If I did anything, and if Long John did anything, and if Jack Leonard did anything, and if Jim Audio did anything, and if JC did anything, and the whole parade of dedicated teachers, it was, you were something. You were to evolve into something. You have. Celebrate it, be happy about it, and be grateful for it. My love, my prayers, and my total esteem is yours. I thank you. Charlie, thank you.
Give everybody a moment to think about that.
Need a little more time.
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm ready to joke. I was going to say. I think they're all saying that.
Charlie, thank you for making this reunion and this moment very special. And I can assure you, oh, I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be here, Larry. I'll learn. I can assure you that we don't just like you still. We really love you. So thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, Charlie, I think, arrived yesterday. Is that true, Charlie? Arrived yesterday. He drove across the country with his bride. Took him 6 days. So thank you very much for sharing this with me. On a little bit more somber note, there are many people missing here tonight. Not just those who couldn't make it or be with us, or those that we couldn't find, but also those who are no longer with us. In 1966, who could have predicted that 50 years later, we would have lost almost 20 of our classmates in our graduating class, most of the faculty members who molded our lives, and even some of our friends who were at Xavier for only a brief period of time. Our thoughts and prayers are with each and every one of them, and they will never be forgotten. And there's no doubt that they all are here with us in spirit tonight. Please direct your attention to the screen as we honor our departed friends.
moment longer, please. No idea. Well, that's it. Here it
Et antiquam documentum novo cedat rituri praest et fides supplementum sensum defectum genitoque laus et jubilatio salus honor virtus quoque sit et benedictio procedentia utroque comparsit laudatio.
No, I was going to talk to Joe. That was Jerry's.
As Terry and Joe kind of switch over. I want to thank Terry